Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is something that's quite highly requested and I want to talk to you about my low calorie go-to dinner options. If you do already follow me over on social media, over on Instagram, I'll pop some images up of my feed now so that you can see I do regularly post meal ideas, low calorie recipes, the kind of things that I like to eat for dinner. I also have a massive sweet tooth, so I do post a lot of dessert ideas and snack ideas, but today I really want to focus on some easy low calorie dinner options. They're all around about 350 to 500 calories each. They're super simple to make. They do have minimal ingredients as well. I don't really like wastage, so a lot of the ingredients that you can buy for these, you can keep them in the house and you can use them as and when without wasting them. Now I am currently in the process of filming some cook along videos so that you can cook along with me. You can see how quick these are to make. You can see in much more detail about how I go about making them. But for this video, I wanted to be able to cover sort of 4 or 5 super simple recipes so that you've got some ideas that you can use during the week. So I'm going to do that by posting images on the screen of the finished meal. I'm going to put up the recipe and I'm going to talk you through how to make them. They are all super simple. They are really easy. They're very cheap to make as well. I often like batch cooking. I find it really good to meal prep. So a lot of these you can make in bulk and you can freeze these down as well. If you are interested in further low calorie meal options, especially desserts and snacks as well, please do hit subscribe so that you can stay up to date with when I start posting these cook along videos. You can also follow me over on Instagram at Hayley's Weight Loss Journey. The link is in the bio down below. If you're interested today in about 4 or 5 really easy low calorie meal options, stay tuned and I'll talk you through them. So the first meal I want to talk about is my absolute favourite dinner. If you do follow me on social media, you'll know this is something that I have at least once a week, and it's Teriyaki Stir Fry. Now I think this tastes absolutely delicious. It comes in round about 450 calories for the way that I make it. I love Chinese inspired food and Asian food, so Teriyaki Stir Fry for me feels like a real treat, but actually it's super simple to make. Now the secret here is knowing how to make teriyaki sauce. It's really easy in the supermarkets. You can pick up teriyaki sauce in sachets or bottles. You can buy pre-done ready meals, but actually you can make a low calorie teriyaki sauce yourself at home, and it is so easy, and all the ingredients needed are ones that you can keep in the cupboard in the fridge. They have a really long expiry date on them, so there's no wastage. You can go back to them when you've got nothing in the house. It's really easy to knock up a teriyaki stir fry. I've put some images on the screen now of the kind of ways that I tend to use the teriyaki sauce. You can see that I sometimes use noodles, I sometimes use rice. I tend to use chicken or prawn in my stir fries, but you can replace this with salmon, tofu if you're vegetarian. You could just simply use vegetables, you could use beef, you could use lamb if you like. So it's really adapting to your flavour how you like it, but I do tend to stick myself for chicken and prawns. Prawns are very low calorie, so if you are looking at making this meal even lower calorie, use prawns for it. It's a really good idea if you like those. So I'll explain to you how to make teriyaki sauce, and it is so simple. All you're going to need to make teriyaki sauce is light soy sauce, honey, Chinese 5-spice. Now that's a spice that you can find in most UK supermarkets down the herb and spice aisle. Just comes in a little pot and it's simply labelled Chinese 5-spice. You're going to need some garlic powder and some corn flour. Corn flour is optional. It does add a few more calories into it. But it's the thickening agent, corn flour, so I use it just to make the sauce a little bit thicker. But if you're happy with a runnier sauce, more of a watery sauce for your stir fry, you don't have to put the corn flour in if you don't have that. So the way that I make teriyaki sauce is I use 3 tablespoons of light soy sauce, 30 grams of honey, 1 teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice, half a teaspoon of garlic powder and 1 teaspoon of corn flour. All I do is I mix this up in a little pot. I tend to add a little bit of water in there as well, just to make the sauce stretch a little bit further. Plus the corn flour is going to thicken it, so you don't want it to be too thick. So I tend to add a few tablespoons of water in there as well. All I do is I mix that up and that is done. Your teriyaki sauce is ready to be cooked. It's so simple, and all of those ingredients you can keep in the cupboard, and it really does taste almost like a Chinese takeaway. I absolutely love teriyaki sauce. Now I mentioned that I use honey in there, so I tend to use about 30 grams of honey. That's where most of the calories come from in this sauce. If you are looking at making this even more low calorie, you can substitute the honey for a 0 calorie syrup. You can get these from places like the Skinny Syrup Company. They tend to do the no calorie golden syrup, maple syrups. You can use those as well, so then that will take obviously the sugar and the calories away from the honey. Personally, I prefer it with honey. I think it tastes a lot nicer. It can taste a lot thicker and sweeter as well, and you don't have that sort of artificial sweetened taste in it. So 3 tablespoons of light soy sauce, 30 grams of honey, 1 teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice, half a teaspoon of garlic, 1 teaspoon of corn flour and a splash of water. Mix that all up together. What I do in a frying pan then is I fry off my chicken or my prawns. I use Fry Light instead of oil because oil has a lot of hidden calories in it. So if you can get yourself a bottle of Fry Light spray, that's even better. It's just 1 calorie per spray. I cook off what I call sort of the base, so the meat of my meal. So I would either have salmon, prawns, chicken. I also tend to fry my broccoli as well. I really like having broccoli in stir fry, so I tend to boil the broccoli for a minute or two first so it's soft. Then I chuck that in the pan with the chicken and the prawns as well. Cook that all off until they're all cooked. I like mine to be slightly crispy as well, so I can sort of overcook the broccoli a little bit to give it a little bit of a crisp. Once that's done, in a separate pan or at the same time, I'll be cooking my noodles or my rice. Now, you don't have to have noodles or rice with it. You could just pack it out with vegetables. You could put in some water chestnuts, some greens, some bean sprouts. But I tend to like to feel full, so I like carbs in my meal. So I'll either use one of the pre-done noodle nests. I buy these dry. You can get them in places like Aldi. You can get them in all UK supermarkets. They tend to come in round about 200 calories for a nest. Or I'll use rice, and I tend to use about 100 grams of cooked rice. That's the cooked weight. I really like wild rice. You can use the sachets, the microwavable rice for convenience as well. Just make sure you only have half a sachet. That tends to be about 200 calories rather than about 400 for the whole thing. So I'll make sure my rice and noodles are cooking, fry off my meat and my broccoli. Once that's all cooked, I'll turn the pan down to a low heat, and then I'll pour on my teriyaki sauce onto my meat. Give that a couple of minutes just to let it thicken, let the sauce heat, and that is it, simply done. Then obviously drain off my rice or my noodles. I will add on my teriyaki sauce with my chicken, prawns, broccoli, and I tend to sprinkle the top with some spring onion or some sesame seeds. And that's it. Really does take about 15 minutes to do the whole thing. You can also use pre-cooked frozen chicken breast as well. So this is something that if you really don't have any fresh food in the house, it's a really easy, simple meal to go. I tend to keep some cooked chicken in the freezer. You can buy these in strips, again, from most UK supermarkets. Just make sure that you defrost them properly, chuck them into the pan, cook those. The rice, as I say, you can keep in the cupboards. That's not going to go off either. It's a really simple, easy meal. So the pictures that I'm putting up, I'm not going to give you an accurate, exact calories, what it's going to come out with you. This is why if you are calorie counting, make sure you're popping your ingredients into MyFitnessPal with the amount that you have so you have an accurate calorie on it. But usually 400 to 500 calories. If you do have prawns with it, or if I don't have the rice or I don't have the noodles, it can be really low calorie. It can be about 300 calories for this meal, but usually 400 to 500 calories. So the next recipe sort of follows on from that. So it's going to be using the same teriyaki sauce, and it's lettuce wraps. I don't know if you've seen these on Instagram before. I know that some restaurants do them. I first found these in a restaurant in Clapham and I absolutely love them. So I decided to make my own. Image on the screen now of lettuce wraps. Now I tend to use chicken for this. They're a really great thing if you're trying to go low carb, if you're trying to keep your carbs low, if you're trying to keep your calories low as well. I sometimes have these for lunch. I don't find them quite as filling for a dinner. But obviously the more that you make, the more filling they're going to be. So I do have these sometimes for dinner, but teriyaki chicken lettuce wraps are one of my go-to things. So I make the teriyaki sauce exactly the same. I cook the chicken off exactly the same, mix those both together. And then all I do is I use sheets of lettuce. I tend to buy whole iceberg lettuce. Keep the sheets sort of as intact as you can. Lay out some of the chicken and teriyaki onto there and just roll it up. And what I do tend to do is add some chopped nuts into mine, because you haven't got the extra calories coming from any carbs in there, so you haven't got any rice or noodles or potato. It tends to be a very low calorie meal, so you can sort of afford to add some nuts in there as well. I just buy the chopped nuts from the supermarket, sprinkle them in, roll them up, and it's a really easy but yummy sort of Chinese inspired dinner is lettuce wraps with chicken, teriyaki sauce and peanuts. So my next low calorie easy meal that I go to is turkey mince and gravy, and it really is as simple as I made it sound then. It's turkey mince, it's gravy and it's peas. I put some images up on the screen now. A portion of this usually comes in about 380 calories, and that's for around about 200 grams of mince. So this one's really good if you wanted to make a batch of this and if you wanted to freeze some down for some meal prep. So you can use the larger minces, which come in about 600 grams. I tend to use turkey mince because it's leaner, it's slightly lower in calorie. However, you can use beef, you can use lamb, you can use corn mince if you're vegetarian. Just make sure that you're adding the calories in correctly into MyFitnessPal or whatever calorie counting app you're using. But if you did use one of the larger mince, about 600 grams, just make sure that you portion out and get 3 portions from it. So one portion, I tend to be using 200 grams of turkey mince. Gravy, I tend to just use some of the gravy like the Bisto powder, nothing fancy. Gravy can be really hard to calorie count because it can be really confusing on the packet to work out how many calories are in there. I tend to use 20 grams of the powder, just mix it up with some boiling water, and then I just add some peas in. Make sure that you do calorie count your peas. I know that some vegetables are very low in calorie. Peas actually are slightly higher in calorie, so make sure that you're weighing out your peas before you add into there. But for the meals that I'm putting on the screen now, it's around about 380 calories per portion. Again, it will depend on how much you use, how much gravy, the kind of gravy you use, how many peas you use, and the kind of mince that you're using. So just make sure that you're tracking that. If you do make this in a bulk, all you have to do to work out how much is in each portion is add the entire ingredients together for the whole bulk that you're making. See how many portions you get out of it and divide it by how many portions there are, 3, 4, 5, however you get out of it. But turkey mince and gravy, for me, it's a real sort of comfort food. I absolutely love meat and gravy. It's so simple to make. I just cook off the mince in a wok or a large pan, make the gravy up with some boiling water, add that in with the peas, let it simmer for sort of 10 minutes till the peas are cooked. And it's really easy, really simple to make. Now, there's also a couple of images on the screen here, which are things that you can then do with this turkey mince and gravy. If you didn't just want a bowl of that, what you can do is you can make sort of like a hot pot or a pie with it. One of the lowest calorie ways of doing that is just to use some sliced potato. Slice a little bit of potato over the top. So once your turkey mince and gravy is cooked, pour it into a ramekin or a bowl, layer it on with some potato, pop that into the oven. I tend to spray the top of the potato with a bit of fry light just to make it go a little bit crispy. Pop that in the oven for 20 minutes and you've got a little hot pot. Or you could use pastry. I tend to use the pre-made rolled pastry. Pastry can be quite high in calories, so as you can see in the image that I've got up now, I tend to sort of crisscross the pastry or just use a very thin layer. I don't sort of top it with a big bit of puff pastry. I just use short crust and just do a bit of a crisscross pattern on the top. And again, I just pop that in the oven until the pastry's cooked. This is another really comforting, really easy, low-calorie meal. Going back to the sort of Chinesey themed food, this is a real type of food that I enjoy cooking. I love the taste of this kind of food. So I'm going to go now to sticky lemon chicken. I'll put some images up on the screen of how I make this and how I tend to serve it. I do like sticky lemon chicken with rice. Again, I'll use about 100 grams of cooked rice. Wild rice is my favourite. If not, I'll try to go sort of whole grain or brown rice. But if I am, for some reason, sort of keeping my carbs low that day or I need a lower calorie meal, I'll just serve sticky lemon chicken with broccoli and peas. I love it with green veg. So to have this, the lemon chicken with the rice comes in round about 400 calories. To have it just with broccoli and peas can be as low as about 280 to 300 calories. Again, it all depends on the amount that you use. Make sure you're tracking your ingredients. Pop it into MyFitnessPal. You'll get an accurate for what your meal is. But the thing with sticky lemon chicken, again, is how to make the sauce. It's really simple. It's really easy. Just like the teriyaki sauce, it's all ingredients that you can keep in the house. They have long expiry dates on them so that you can knock this up when you need to. To make the sticky lemon sauce, again, in a bowl, I just mix up 30 grams of honey. Once more, you can substitute the honey again if you want for a 0-calorie sauce, something from Skinny Food Company. They sell the golden syrup and the maple syrup. You can use them as well. But I prefer to use honey, so I use 30 grams of honey. I use half a tablespoon of ginger. You can use fresh ginger. I think that's far too much effort. I tend to buy just the powdered ginger to keep in the house. So half a teaspoon of ginger. I use about 4 or 5 tablespoons of lemon juice. Now you can use fresh lemon juice, obviously you can squeeze your own lemons. I tend to just buy the bottles of lemon juice from the supermarket, keep one in the fridge because I like to use them for pancakes as well. So about 5 tablespoons of lemon juice. Then I'll use about 2 teaspoons of sweetener. Any sweetener, I tend to use just Canderel. I just keep one of the big pots in the house because I use it a lot for cooking and again a lot for things like pancakes and desserts. So 2 teaspoons of sweetener, 1 teaspoon of corn flour, a pinch of salt, and then again I'll add a little bit of water just to make the sauce go a bit further. So it's very similar to the teriyaki sauce. It's the same kind of style of making it. A lot of the ingredients are quite similar. So I'll mix those all up together: honey, ginger, lemon juice, sweetener, corn flour, a pinch of salt and some water. Now it's very similar to the teriyaki recipe that I mentioned first. I'll cook off the chicken in a pan. Again, I like my chicken quite well cooked, so I'll sort of fry it a little bit further than it needs to be, so it's got a bit of a crispy coating on it. I'll make sure I'm cooking off my rice at the same time, or my broccoli and peas, my vegetables. If I do have rice for this, I do tend to mix peas in with it as well. Feels a bit more sort of Chinese inspired. You can make your own egg fried rice. I don't tend to do that because mine never goes right. It tends to go more like scrambled egg with rice, which I don't particularly like. I can never get it sort of fine enough. But that is something you could do, especially if you were doing like a Chinese fake away type evening. But I'll keep my rice cooking, my broccoli and my peas. Once the chicken's cooked through, I'll turn the pan again down to a medium heat or a lower heat. I'll pour in my sticky lemon sauce, pour that on, give that a few minutes just to warm through, let the sauce thicken, and it's as simple as that. I'll then serve the sticky lemon chicken over rice or vegetables. Again, you can batch cook this. I tend to batch cook quite a lot of stuff, and I'm quite I do freeze a lot of stuff. This one I've never had any problems with freezing it. Make sure that you defrost it properly out the freezer when you bring it out, and make sure that you are cooking it through properly in an oven. Make sure that it's piping hot the whole way through the chicken. But it is something that I do, and I freeze this so I can take it to work in the evenings for dinner. Now, the last meal that I want to talk about is one that's really popular on Instagram. When I post this, a lot of people like trying this. They like the idea of this, and it's a low-calorie burger bowl. If, like me, you like your fast food, you like your McDonald's, your burgers, your convenience food, this is a really great low-calorie option. So the images that I'm putting up now of the burger bowls that I make tend to come in around about 450 calories each. This is quite an adaptable recipe, so you can use whatever toppings you like. It depends on what mince you use, what sauce you use, as to how many calories are going to be in that. But if you do follow the recipe that I'm going to give you, it comes in around about 450 calories for a bowl. What you're going to need for this is mince. Now again, I use turkey mince, and I use 180 grams of this when I make a burger bowl. I also need some onion, some lettuce, some cheese. I tend to use a lower fat or a protein cheese. I really like a company called Eat Lean Protein Cheese. I'm not sponsored by them or paid to promote them to you. I just think they're a really great company because their cheese is about half the calories you find in regular cheese. So some low fat or protein cheese, some wafer thin ham, just a few slices of that, and some lighter than light or light mayo is what I tend to use. So in a pan or in a wok, I cook off my turkey mince with some diced onion. So 180 grams of turkey mince, dice up some onion. There's virtually any calories at all in onions, so just add in what you like. And that's what's going to give it the real burger taste, is the onion mixed with the mince. Once that's all cooked off, in a separate pan as well, I'll be cooking off some wafer thin ham. So I use this as a bacon substitute. When you fry wafer thin ham, it comes up with the same sort of taste as bacon does. So bacon can be a lot higher in calorie because it's thicker and it has fat on it. So I tend to use wafer thin ham for this recipe because you can get a lot more for the lower calories. So about 3 slices of wafer thin ham, I'll just slice that and I'll fry that off in a pan so it's crispy. Once I've got my turkey mince and my wafer thin ham cooked, in a bowl I'll layer on some shredded lettuce. I tend to use shredded iceberg lettuce because that's what they tend to use in burgers, so it gives it that real burger taste. On top of my lettuce, I'll add my turkey mince, then I'll add my cheese. So I'll use grated cheese. I'll grate up some protein cheese, add that over the top. Then I'll add on my fried wafer thin ham, so my bacon. And then I tend to pour over some lighter than light mayo or light mayo, depending what I'm using, how many calories I've got left. Now you can of course use ketchup instead. You could use burger sauce. You don't have to have any sauce at all on there. And you can also add your own toppings. So I don't particularly like fried eggs, but you could add a fried egg onto the top. You could add some tomato. You could add some further fried onion. Whatever you want to do to make it feel like your burger the way that you would have it in a restaurant. Now I think this is a really fun idea. It's something that kids might enjoy as well. If you want to try to get some salad into the kids, you know, using tomato and lettuce, if you want to get some protein into them, sort of just adapting a regular burger recipe, which can be quite high in calories when you start adding things like buns and chips to it as well. This can be quite fun for kids. I love burger meals. I do have this quite a lot, these burger bowls, and as I say, about 450 calories. So the images are back up now so that you can sort of copy them. But yeah, add whatever you like to it. Some fried onions, you could even add some onion rings if you've got the calories to use for it. Sprinkle of salt over the top. I'm quite wary with salt. I don't tend to use too much salt when I'm cooking, but I do like a little sprinkle just to give it a bit of seasoning over this. So guys, that's just a few of my go-to low calorie dinners. I get asked a lot, could I please post some of my recipes? I hope I've posted a few in here that have been beneficial to people. I have so many more from doing years of calorie counting, so there will be more videos. As I say, there'll be upcoming cook-along videos as well, which I hope you guys will find enjoyable. Please hit subscribe down below if you have enjoyed this and if you want to stay up to date with when I post content. If you don't want to miss when I start adding these cook-along videos, hit subscribe so that you can get notified when they come up. You can also follow me over on Instagram. You'll see on there that I have loads and loads of meal ideas and a lot of dessert and snack ideas because of my sweet tooth. There will of course be an upcoming video on here as well about my favourite low calorie desserts because that's sort of my field. I have a sweet tooth, so I've done lots of experimenting over the years with lower calorie desserts and sweets. But I hope this has given you just a few ideas, ones that you can try out. I don't particularly like buying pre-made sauces too much. I quite like to make my own stuff, which is what I've tried to do in these recipes. You know exactly what's going in there, you know how many calories are going in there, you know there's no bad stuff. And I also try to use a lot of ingredients that you can keep in the house, so it's not too expensive. You can make these ingredients stretch and you can make them last a long time. So I hope you have enjoyed this. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch. Please do hit subscribe down below, or you can go and follow me over on Instagram. I'll put the link down below. I hope everybody is keeping safe and well, and I'll see you in the next video.